Hey, so welcome to this is a crossover episode. So not only is this your host is Women Pepreneurs is myself, Mary Oquendo, but we are doing a crossover podcast with
The Pawdcast, the business side of the pet industries, and I'm Dr. Molly Rowland.
And
Hello.
Todd Rowland.
And Todd's here too, off camera.
okay, so Dr. Molly Rowland.
Yes. Yeah, I have my doctorate in organizational leadership, in management and organizational leadership, to be a little more specific. I actually did my dissertation on female employee turnover in the pet grooming industry. So I did a pretty intense 2-year study over turnover. And it just had to be so specific that I could only choose one gender. So I went with female since we were 9/10 of the population in the grooming industry at the time. So it was great. I had to really go in depth, interview a lot of participants and see the reasons they were. And I did it from 2 levels, both like the employee level and the management owner level. So I really got to find out what people thought, why they were leaving, the issues surrounding that, what management saw, what they thought. So it was a really good thing. I ended up with what I call the employee turnover model, the ETM, and it's just basically the 4 negatives and 4 positives. So the main reasons groomers are leaving, and then the main reasons things you can do that groomers are looking for to kind of stay. As we notice, there's like a huge turnover. There's a lot of job dissatisfaction going around, especially we saw that amp up during COVID. So that was just a study that I thought was near and dear to me and, our business, but then the industry as a whole too.
All right. So tell me the takeaways from that. I'm very curious.
Yeah. So the main takeaways are culture. Groomers are not getting the positive culture they need in the working environment. And that's something they, seek, and that's top priority almost. Continuing education. So that's one of the main reasons that we kind of got into the podcast is, we've seen a lot of some of the negativity and just a need for even more education, more people sharing the networking, just the positive side of that. And so with that, not just the networking and things, but business owners not providing continuing education, not providing in-depth onboard training, not just things like that. So they felt that was a big gap, and that's really important to groomers from what we found. As far as flexibility and overworking, too many big dogs, every weekend, late hours, open and closing, just there's no work-life balance allowed at a lot of places from the groomers we talked to. So those are probably the top 3 big ones. And so basically it was just, these are the negatives. This is what we're seeing. And then, it went in depth about how to kind of focus on those and bring them up. And then the last big one, the 4th thing we saw was cleanliness and safety. So, not enough cleanliness, not enough safety measures. And with that, a lot of mold in salons, a lot of not allowed to muzzle, having to take dogs you're not comfortable with or that are aggressive, ending in injury. So just, so it was a really good study. I really got a lot out of it. And so we actually teach a class on that and building a better team. And it's based on that. It's an in-depth study of kind of go over that 4-part positive and negative model from that study.
You know what? That's, really hits home for me too, because I originally started off at Petco. And when I first started at Petco, for me, it was a great job. It was a great job because the store manager was hands off. He was like, you know what? I don't know anything about this. I don't want to know anything about this. I just want you to make money, make the decisions, and we're good. And that was really great. Okay?
Nice.
But this is part of the issue when you're working for. I don't think it's limited to working to a chain. I think it hits on a lot of points. Is that one, they wanted us to work all crazy hours. Okay.
Right.
Taking time off could be difficult if it was a day they wanted you to work. Okay. For example, is I wanted to go to a trade show. This is why I actually left. Okay. So I wanted to go to Groom Expo. It was a huge trade show, and I was paying for everything. I was paying for my classes. I was paying for hotel, travel, all of that. And the only thing I asked was not to make me take my vacation time because, the trade show fell on the weekend.
Right.
Okay. And they made us take vacation time.
Yeah. It's
And
like
I
you're doing
was
something to better yourself for them, for that your skills.
exactly because I had no intention of leaving. I was like really happy there. I was making money. In fact, the game plan had been the big plan at that time was, you know what? My husband had a great pension. So wasn't too concerned about that. But we figured at some point when he retired, we'd go to like, I don't know, North Carolina was the thing that popped up. And I would just relocate. I would just transfer stores.
Right.
That was my big goal at that time.
Yeah.
Okay. And what put the kibosh on that was is that, I get to Groom Expo and I'm paying for all this stuff. And at that time, the chains all had booths at the shows.
Oh,
Okay. So they were there, recruiting people to become groomers. And the people that were coming from corporate, had hotel paid for, all their travel paid for. They didn't have to take their vacation time. Okay.
okay.
And if they wanted to take classes, it was all covered for them. But for me, these were not groomers.
Right.
Groomers had to pay for their education. Okay. And that the kicker was is that I paid extra for the pet first aid class. And the guy is there and he's like, oh, sees my badge and sees that I'm from Petco and realizes, hey, just Petco this weekend teaching this class to all the mucky mucks. I paid an extra at that time, I think an extra $80 for that class. I was
Wow.
so mad. I was so mad. I went to the show floor and I put a deposit down on a mobile grooming van.
Wow. Yeah, I got my start in corporate as well. And it was, again, I'm thankful I got started there. That's where I learned to groom. I wouldn't have really probably gotten into it otherwise. And I had been waiting tables. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to work through college, let me do something with pets. So I applied at all kind of places and got a call back to be a bather and then went to grooming school about a month later. So that was good. But again, it was our store manager was not hands off. And so he was micromanaging. We did have a really good salon manager at the time that tried to do a lot of the buffer work. But at the end of the day, I mean, it was just sales, 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 over groom, overwork. You were working through lunches, clocking out and not taking them. Like, you'd go 8, 10 hours without going to the bathroom because you didn't feel like you had that 5 minutes just to walk to the back of the store. Everything was pressure. And so that was just something that I decided that I did not want to continue that. And then I went on a deployment for a year. And while I was there and you're literally told what to do every minute of every day, I just decided that the corporate role position was not something that I wanted to get back into. So when I got home, I basically I took what money I had, found a van and got started with, we call him OG Bob. He's like a 2000 E350 tank. And, we still use it. He's still on the road today, but it's just, had it been a better environment, I probably would have never even thought to leave.
I would the same thing. And I don't think if they had not pissed me off enough, I would not be sitting here doing a podcast interview.
Right.
Right. Because I was just really happy there. But it's amazing when you're not happy and then all of a sudden I'm a big believer in paying attention to the opportunities that come your way.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good one.
So I pay attention to the opportunities that come my way. And it's just like and I remember when I got started in writing and I wasn't writing anything. All right. But let's go back to the Wayback Machine to Pet Groomer Town Hall, not to petgroomer.com.
Okay.
Okay. And for those who are like a light bulb, oh, yeah, I was there too. So just so you guys know, I was working Chihuahua on Pet Groomer Town, petgroomer.com. Okay. So anyway, he puts out, it says, hey, I'm looking for some bloggers. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? I can write. Okay. And I put in, hey, I would like to do this. And he accepted me as one of the bloggers. And that was the first time I wrote in the pet industry, long
Okay.
before Groomer to Groomer magazine.
Yeah. So what all do you write for now? I know you have the positive educational training and all of that, and then you do the groomer to groomer. Are there any of the other ones that maybe, aren't so common or that, we may not know of?
For me,
Yes.
okay, can I tell you what I am most proud of in this industry that I've contributed to this industry?
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Okay, so, well, first of all, it has to do with positive ed. All right, and I actually started that in 2011 because I was teaching at trade shows at this point and not taking any classes because I was too busy either teaching or tired. Teaching can be, this, teaching can be a little exhausting sometimes.
Yes, it can.
So it takes a lot of mental capabilities from you, and that can be really exhausting. So I'm finding I'm not taking education at trade shows that I'm at a lot of. Okay, I'm at least 6 or 7 trade shows a year. And I found that I was taking most of my continuing education online in other industries. All right. It's taking all my business classes someplace else, tech classes someplace else, because continuing education online in 2011 was commonplace in other industries, but not ours.
Okay.
So I wanted to do live workshops, and that was we first launched in 2011. So when I tell you I made all the mistakes, I made all the mistakes, and I probably invented new mistakes to make and made them. So
Nice. It
that
happens. Yeah. Well, that's what
so
happens when you're kind of revolutionizing something within an industry.
fast forward and, I I launched a total of 3 times, each one, a little bit better than the others. But the last launch that I did was in 2018. And then, and I'm doing fine. I'm doing really good with it. Okay. And then COVID, I'm doing well enough with it that, I'm going to now I'm setting my retirement date for mobile grooming, and I'm going to then devote solely to positive ed, which I did. Okay. And so I retired in 2019. And then in the summer of 2019, moved out to Washington. And then March of 2020, COVID shut everything down.
Yeah,
Okay. So
for
I'm
sure.
watching my membership plummet because, groomers are worried. They're worried about, can I work? I'm not working. I got to cut expenses. So they're cutting my expense. Okay.
Right.
But they're also complaining about not going to trade shows anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did the first online trade show, 2 days. I had vendors, I had everything in the pet industry. And that just launched a whole new market in the pet industry. So that is probably my most proud moment, and something that, I could say that was me. That was me who did that. So, so
That's
anyway.
awesome. Yeah, that is something to be proud of because, like you said, groomers are used to going to these trade shows and things like that and getting that education in person, and then they don't see, because there wasn't anything, so they didn't think about doing something like that online. So when you open up that opportunity and you're still connecting, these people with these people and have a space, I don't know, that is definitely something to be proud of.
So online education now in the pet industry, and not just positive ed, by the way. There's a lot of opportunities to take online education, and almost in anything. All right. So not just like business classes or safety classes. There's skill classes that you can take online.
Yeah, we use a program for our boarding kennel techs, and it goes over. I mean, it's crazy how in depth it is about dog behaviors, how to maneuver, react, all those things, and it's so specific, and it's tailored just for the boarding industry. And I mean, it's amazing, and it's like we have these kennel techs come in that have no experience whatsoever, and it's like after they go through that, and then you'll all of a sudden hear one number, they'll be like, "Oh, did I deflect that, aggressive tendency correctly?" And you look at them like, wow, for someone who's never worked hands-on with pets before, they're actually are learning the skills they need to be safe and, to enjoy their jobs and be able to do them.
You
So,
know, what I'm seeing a lot of now is a lot of the younger groomers getting into online education to specifically teach the things they felt they should have been taught in grooming school.
yeah, that's a big feedback thing that we've been seeing too. It's, oh, like, oh, they told us about this, or we touched on this, or, but, I don't see this in my salon, or I'm not allowed to do this yet. Or so, like you said, having the access to those online resources. And one thing I really like about the positive ed is the variety of stuff that you guys offer. I mean, you have so many industry, experts on there for all different things. You have the business stuff, you've got, the we did the the last weekend where it was, looking forward to what are you going to do when you get out of grooming,
Life
like,
after grooming.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just like, it's a great place that you're not just finding, the same stuff you're seeing over and over. And there's so much of it there in one place too. And then too with the Pet Pro Talk, like that's a great thing that's going on, I think. You always see in all these groups, everyone asking, like, what's a good podcast? Where can I learn that? What's this? And it's just like, you only see the same two or three being mentioned. So now
Yes.
it's like, if they can get and see all those other ones, and even though there's some of them that aren't currently, producing and stuff, they have older episodes, it's still nice to go in and listen to those and see what was going on at that time, and the different discussions. I don't know. We've really enjoyed going through some of those that we hadn't heard about before.
Yeah, well, part of the reason why I wanted to do that is because I was not finding the podcast I wanted to listen to because I couldn't like just click a button somewhere. Okay.
Right.
When I was at, which show was it? Hershey. It was Hershey. Hershey, not this year. Hershey the year before. I said, when you're working with a corporation, the wheels turn slowly, but you know what? They know what they're doing. Okay.
Right.
So at that time, Chris Miller was with Pet Edge. Okay. And he and I sat down and we wanted to do something. Pet Edge's issue is Boss Pet bought Pet Edge. And for those of us who have been around for a while, knew that Pet Edge really got on everyone's last nerve. And customer service was in the toilet. So they bought a company and they wanted to revamp it, wanted to get it back into what it used to be.
Right.
Okay. So they needed to do something goodwill. So my suggestion had been, well, you know what? There's a lot of really great podcasts, and podcasting is not that difficult to get into. Could be a minimal investment. Um, it is just sometimes people just don't know what the next step is. All
Right.
right. Really, really simple. They don't know what to do. But there's also a lot of established podcasts out there. What if we just had a clearinghouse? What if we had a website where everybody could just go to and there'd be all the industry, pet industry podcasts there, and you could just pick which one. All right. I think that's great because I can go and listen to podcasts I would not have thought of going to because I've now made it easy for myself
Yeah.
to go over to petprotalk.com and then now go through several of the episodes. Oh, this is really great. Now I can binge them and catch up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's something we've definitely enjoyed. There's a couple of days a week I have a pretty long commute, and so it's like, when you've got 3 or 4 hours a day in the car, then you get quite a lot of time to listen to some of those. So yeah, we like having the access to all that.
So,
And that's kind of how we were. We started this, and it's just we figured it out as we went. And like you said, it's people can't even sometimes find ours because you put in the podcast, and it's like there'll be the podcast this, the podcast that, or that at pause. And sometimes if you don't have it exactly specific to us, we have people all the time, oh, we can't find it, we can't find it. Which now we've got the links and everything available to send, and they can find it on the Pet Pro Talk. But it is hard to find what, and even if you search in there, you just put in dog grooming or dog groomer or dogs, it's like half of them won't even show up.
well, yeah, and not only that, for some reason, I think we've been categorized as like health and beauty. So when we listen to one, the suggested podcasts on the side all have to do with like hair and skin and makeup.
Right.
And like that's great, but that's not what I'm looking for.
Exactly. No.
So I'm pretty excited about that. I know. So if anyone's interested in wanting to do a podcast, I am actually the person who contact. Okay. They're also starting blogs up on that site as well.
Oh, okay. That'll be good too.
Blogs being, and they're like really specific. These are like short blogs. These are like
Right.
to the point. These are not articles and stories. They get to the point, people.
Yeah.
So that's my style of writing too, by the way. Okay.
Okay.
I will get to the point. But anyway, so they're putting up a lot of an educational type site up there. So the goal is they got the podcasts up there now. They're going to get the blogs. They're going to start offering at some point again, wheels, things
Yeah.
have to click. All right. And there's also the tech side of things too. So it's not like our gang and let's put on a show and just do it. There's the technology behind it can be quite intense when you're doing a huge project. So the next step will be putting up some like free educational content, links to free educational content, and then maybe putting up some of their own like paid stuff. And this is Pooh Bear for those who are watching on YouTube.
Oh,
There's Pooh Bear.
Hi, Pooh Bear.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like I got something going on in here, but it's Pooh Bear moving around.
Has to be a part of it.
He
Oh,
has to be a part of it. He lives in the sweatshirt.
so
So
what do you see that's something that'll be a lot of fun to see how that grows and develops. And I know that's something you're probably proud to be a part of, that whole process.
yes, and anything, my goal is if I could leave the industry better than what I got it in. Okay. So that's my goal. And I want everybody I work with in the industry after I'm long gone, when they leave the industry, they've left it better than they got it in. And I'm seeing that trend. I'm seeing a lot of the newer instructors, the newer teachers. I mean, really honing in on the things they feel is important that may have been lacking. I mean, let's be fair to conferences. Let's be fair to trade shows. They
Yeah.
can only do so much.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. It's 2, 3 days of education, and it's original show is done once a year. I mean, what's different about positive ed, it's monthly. It doesn't matter where you are. But
Right.
trade shows are regional. They're in a place. Okay. So even if they offer different things at all of their trade shows, that means you have to travel to those places to do it. So,
Yeah.
pros and cons, but I love trade shows. I can't imagine like not going to a trade show.
Yeah, that's how we feel. And for us too, the good thing about a trade show is whether it's like one of the big ones, or we'll have a lot of that'll come around Nashville, and they'll just be like a 1 or 2 day something, either just a kind of almost a one-on-one setting, or a small group setting. Or we've been to some, like Love Groomers through one pretty close to us, that it had a small little trade, they had a booth set up. So it was like a little mini trade show, and they still had different skills classes and things like that. It was, an all day thing. So even we've noticed ourselves or sending our team to even just a 1 or 2 days of education, it kind of helps that burnout. It kind of re-energizes, refocus, revamps. Like if someone's starting to kind of feel down, or, tired, burnout, need a break, it's like, okay, well, what do we have close by? Even, if it's 1 or 2 hours, 3 hours, or we've send some to online things. It's like, what can we do to kind of remotivate you? And that's all it takes is, they just need that little break, see something new, hear something new, and they come back just ready to go until the next one.
Yeah, and again, it's why I like the traveling. All right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have my local show now is the Tacoma Northwest, and I could drive to that. That's great. But every place else I have to now drive to an airport and then
Yeah.
somewhere. Um, and yeah, air travel can get a little much at times, but you know what? Um, if I find that if I keep my shows to like maybe that 6, 7 mark, I don't get tired of doing it.
Okay.
Start getting past that, and now it's exhausting. And I feel for vendors who are doing 10, 12, 15 shows a year.
Yeah. That can be a lot. That's kind of, there's a lot that we haven't been to because we're in Tennessee. So, we've kind of hit up the ones around here, Pet Quest, Hershey, Groomed, some more of the local ones to this side. But like we're planning to go to Groom Expo West this year. Like we've looked at some of like the Northeast and some of those other ones. We did go to Texas this year, which we flew to that one. But it's just kind of looking to see, and we thought about hitting up a lot of them this year. And so we're kind of vamping up for a busy
Yeah.
season of expos.
And I find that the trade shows are really open to podcasters. Okay. So at all the shows that I have been to in the last year have allowed us to do a live podcast.
Oh, wow.
All right. So usually they'll just give us space to do it. All right. They don't maybe necessarily want us on the floor because it's either A, distracting or it's too loud. It's like
Right.
pointless.
Yeah, I could
You
see that.
know? But maybe someplace a little quieter, we can announce, hey, we're doing it. And we could do like live podcasts.
Yeah. Okay, that should be a lot of fun. Are you, do you know what shows you'll be at doing those next year, or do you not have that planned yet?
I have some of it planned.
Okay.
Okay, so I will be at both Groomed and Super Zoo. Those are definite. I will be at the Colorado show, the Rocky Mountain Groom Expo.
Oh, great. We'll be there too. We've got a couple of 4 hours and a 2-hour class. That was our first one we did this year. The first year this year too, and that was a great show. We've really enjoyed that. It's, it's not so many vendors, still in a smaller venue, and we got to really talk and interact with a lot of the groomers and stuff there. So we
Well, that's why I'm doing that show this year because I heard great things about it, and I didn't do this year's because it was that one too many trade show.
yeah,
Okay. And I didn't want to do a new show when I had like no basis to go. I had no idea. Okay.
yeah,
But I'm doing a 6 hour mobile grooming class there. I'm also going to be a vendor there.
awesome.
Okay. So I am sure we could talk to Tina about doing a live podcast.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that would be a lot of fun.
Okay. So if anyone who's doing a podcast and is going to shows, um, let me know. All right. If it's a show I'm going to be at, I can directly talk to the people in charge and see if they can give us a space or a time to do it. Sometimes the location is not going to allow us to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But the trade shows are themselves, I have found to be very, very open to doing it. It's advertising for them too, as well.
Right.
So it's win-win for everybody.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So how long have you been in the pet industry? When did you start?
I got into grooming in 2011. So been doing it a little bit, what, I think I just had over 12 years in July. So that was my 12-year mark. Again, got started in corporate just because I originally wanted to work with pets. I didn't even realize at the time how big dog grooming was, or pet grooming. Like, I came from a small town. Everybody had mutts or farm dogs that they didn't get groomed. I didn't personally know anyone that took their dog to a groomer till I started college. And then, it was a purebred, and I was like, oh, they're fancy. And then it's like, you now fast forward a couple years and I'm back in, living in a bigger city and start working at the corporate. And it's just like, there's just, you see there, farm dogs, mutts, whatever. It's not just more of, I always attributed dog groomers to more of the show world and, the AKC, things like that, not just like your everyday pet grooms. And so that was eye opening for me. And I just loved it. I went from just something to do. My original plan in college was to be a high school English teacher. So, it went from that to morphing into my own business that I was still planning on doing, but, maybe not long term. And then from there, it's expanded our whole life. It's, we've got the mobiles, we got the salon, the boarding, we started the podcast. Todd left his job in January and came on board full time for the, just because it was something that we both just felt very passionate about. And then, we love our team. We love growing it. We love providing. And I don't know, it's just something that I had never, thought about growing up, even being in the pet, in any pet industry. And then, to morph into that, I don't know. It's been something that I just never would have dreamt about. And it's so much better than I could have ever imagined.
Now, I was 38 years old when I started working for corporate. And up until that point, I had only had short-haired dogs. All right. And nobody around me had dogs that were anything other than short-haired dogs. It wasn't until I was 38 years old that I realized that people took their dogs and then later their cats to be groomed. Okay. And what's funny is that when I started my business, I started out focusing on the large dogs, the golden retrievers, the labs, the shepherds, because the owners, what I found is that the owners didn't want to take their dogs to the groomers because they're big and they're sloppy and they drool all over their seats, yada, 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 whatever. Okay. But I was probably, when I first started mobile, I would say probably a good 60% of my clients were actually golden retrievers.
Wow. Yeah, I kind of started with my special and aggressive dogs, bad dogs that had a hard time at the salon, and because it was more stress free. I had gotten a lot of those kind of dogs in the corporate, so I was like, I'll focus on that, and I just got really comfortable and really, used to handling them. And then when it was time for us to expand and give away some of my clients, to other groomers, and it was like they weren't able to. So that was a training moment for us to like go over, make sure your groomers know how to handle aggressive dogs, make sure they can register, the signs of uncomfortableness, nervousness, things like that. Um, I don't know, but we moved away from the specializing in that, and then we just kinda opened up to everything, and now we've got several groomers, and that's one thing that we kind of pride ourselves on is we don't, and sets us apart from some of the other people around us, is we don't make our groomers work certain hours, certain days, take certain breeds. Like, they get to pick. Every groomer has stuff they're comfortable and not comfortable doing, and they all know their work-life balance. So, they get to pick if they only want dogs under 35 pounds, or if they want to groom cats, or if they don't want to groom huskies, or whatever it is. And I mean, I think finding what kind of your specialty is or what you want to do is important, whether you're starting or you're restructuring or you're starting to get burnt out. Like, identify what you don't like doing, and remove it so you can keep that
Oh, no,
passion.
I absolutely agree with that. So when I was grooming in Connecticut, I had a good, strong network with a lot of the other area groomers because towards the end, my specialty was cats and the seniors.
Okay.
Okay. So I would have groomers send me their old dogs, the dogs that they were no longer comfortable grooming, and they would send them to me. And we had a non-poaching policy. So they would send me, hey, you're the 14-year-old lab, but I don't touch the 6-year-old lab. They're
Right.
sending me the 14-year-old lab. So non-poaching policy. Okay. And they would send me their cats. Right. Not a lot of groomers in my area did cats at that time. And in turn, I would send them the ones I didn't want to do. Like, you know what? If you want a breed trim on your Bichon, I am not the groomer for you.
Yeah.
Okay. No, so sorry. Okay. And I would send them. You know what? And everybody is happy. I'm happy. I'm grooming the dogs I want to groom.
Yeah.
The other groomers are happy. They're grooming the dogs they want to do. Owners are happy because they're getting the right groomer for them.
Yeah.
So networking is hugely important, and don't be afraid of your area groomer. So this is like my philosophy on it. If if a groomer doesn't want to talk to you, okay, if they're viewing you as competition, they don't have anything to offer you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay. What you want are the colleagues. All right. Colleagues are so much better than competitors.
Yeah. 100% agree. We talk about networking a lot because for us, I mean, it's so important because even just somewhere to vent or to ask advice, or like you said, to send other places, like we have a local group here, we're in a small town now for our salon, but there's multiple dog grooming salons, multiple boarders, at-home groomers. And that's another one of those things, either someone can't afford someone, so you already know someone that you can refer they can afford, or that senior pet or the cats. Like, we don't groom cats at our salon, and so we have a local dog and cat grooming place that we can send them to. So when you have those connections, and then we've seen a lot too, especially with new groomers who might not necessarily have like all their backups and things like that. They'll say, "Oh my gosh, my dryer went out. I did order one, but it won't be here for a week." And someone will be like, "Okay, well, if you need to come borrow one, come pick it up." Or their gallon of shampoo busted, and so they need to come get one. So Yeah, that's what we like. There's enough dogs. Like, we're not competition. Like, we need to be supportive and help each other, encourage, be there, because you'll never know what you're going to go through. And there's probably someone that's already been through it, or at least someone that can understand that it's frustrating, or that, unexpected stuff comes up, or just the heartaches of losing pets. This has been a terrible couple months for our groomers on the whole. Like, we've lost a lot of customer pets and customers in the last 6 months. And I mean, that's emotionally taxing too. So just having someone, that can relate to that is, beneficial.
Yeah, no, and that's a really good point too. I've had groomers like run into my saying, "Hey, you don't have a stripping knife, do you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do. Can I borrow it?" Yes, you can. But I have, as a mobile groomer, I have borrowed other mobile groomers' vans for the day because mine was in the shop. They've borrowed my van on my
Yeah.
day off. I had a shop whose water line burst and it was on my day off. So I literally drove my van to their shop and they were grooming their groomers were grooming in my mobile grooming van because you know what? I had water in there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, see, it's just nice to build those connections. People just automatically want to think like that. People ask us all the time, "Oh, how many people, who do you compete with? How many people are you competing with?" And it's like, well, we're not competing with anyone. Like, we all have our own thing going on, and, we can work together. Now, that's not to say everyone's involved in that or everyone believes that, but for the most part, like, all of our local groups are pretty good, especially our mobile group. People put freeze warnings in there, or, they'll update road closures, even traffic. It's just amazing to see kind of the group come together. And most of these people we've never met in person, but we feel like we know each other.
Yeah. So yeah, reach out to your area groomers. And if they're happy to see you, they're your colleagues. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've always said when I first started, probably the best marketing I did when I first started, go back to 2002 was like unheard of. So mobile grooming was not common at the time. I took a box, okay, I'm Northeast. So a box of Dunkin' Donuts over over to the vet hospitals. They would all come out, ooh and ah over the van, over donuts because, donuts make the world
So,
go
yeah.
round. And literally, I have been retired 4 years, okay? I still get that occasional call now from a vet in the area because my number has not changed. Um, do I know? Yes, Mary, I know you're retired. I know you're in Washington. Do you know anybody who you can recommend? And I'm like, it's been too many years since I've been there. I don't know who any of the new people are. Okay.
Yeah.
But for a long time, I would have vets only refer to me, knowing that if I couldn't help them, I knew who to send their clients to. And that's the power of a donut.
Yeah. We've done the donuts to our vets a couple times too. So, yeah, and that's another important thing is making those connections even outside of the grooming industry, especially if you're mobile. Like, we have what we call our network, and it's our mechanics, our mobile mechanics, our air conditioning people, our supplier. We just found a local distributor here, and, they'll come deliver on a Sunday if we need them to, and it's just like, you have to build those relationships, find those, show your gratitude, like, give them something, so they're interested in getting to know you. And, um, that just makes your life a lot easier when you have that network, whether it's inside or outside of the industry.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Having a distributor come to you? Yeah. If there's delivering me stuff, there's a box of donuts and it's a go cup of coffee for them when they get to my place.
Oh, yeah.
And here's another thing too, right? So as mobile, like I don't have a brick and mortar. Okay. So I was doing retail for a long time and they couldn't get the big trucks from the distributors onto my street because it's a
Oh,
residential road. So they couldn't deliver to my house, but they would deliver to my vet. And again, that's having good relationships with
yeah.
area people because you know what? The same distributor, they were buying from the same distributor. So they would deliver their order and my order at the same time. The, Crystal would call me and say, "Hey, Mary, your order's here. Come get it."
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. A lot of places, they won't do that, especially if you haven't built that connection.
Okay, one of us froze. So anyway, um, I'll assume Molly froze and I'll keep talking unless it's the other way around, and then I'm just talking to dead air. So
Okay. Well,
having those, hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're frozen on my screen, and I guess I'm frozen on yours.
Okay, so I can hear you. You're frozen on you.
Yeah, but I can hear you fine. Oh, well, now I can't hear you.
Okay, I'm back. That
Oh,
was there we go. All right. So anyway, so let's talk a little bit about technology. Okay. So yeah, we all use some sort of technology in our business, and sometimes it works and sometimes it does not. Okay.
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah.
I love having backups of technology. Okay. I started early enough in the pet industry in which technology wasn't there yet. And our online software just was basically glorified spreadsheets at best. Okay. So I
Yeah.
relied on paper and carried that through almost until to the end. All right. When I did add in technology, I still had my paper backup. All right. Because of technology, I can remember a couple of years back, several of the scheduling software was using one particular service, and that service went down. And if you didn't print out your schedules for a couple days, nobody knew where they were going.
Yeah. I can imagine the nightmare. I was pen and paper when I started for the longest time, even when we had a couple of units going. I think as early as 2019, I think is when we first got our first software, and we've been through several since then, but the one we have now, it is every morning we get a automatic email that has where everybody's going, who their clients are, what their schedule, so it's like even if they freeze up or they go down, which we haven't really had with this software, but that used to be something our old software would go down for 2 or 3 hours. So it's like if you forgot to print someone's schedule or you didn't look and see who you had next. I mean, it was just chaotic. So I don't know. It took a lot for me to get away from the pen and paper, but now it's convenient. We don't keep the pen and paper as well. We just print, they get sent to our email every day, but I don't know. It can definitely ruin your day, your week, or whatever when that server goes down and you don't know where you're going, who you're going. You don't even have a phone number to call and tell them you're not coming because you don't know who you're supposed to call.
Yep, yep. So I was and for mobiles, all right, it really say I'm a single mobile. I've never had employees. I didn't have a fleet. So only one who knew where I was going was me. All right.
Right.
And I realized that was a little bit of an issue because I was coming down a hill in the wintertime. And my van, of course, was, big and white. Okay. At the time. And I remember driving down Long Mountain Hill Road. And the only thing like I was keeping me on the road was the snowbanks were so high. And I was like very jokingly said to myself, man, if I go off the road here, they're not going to find my van to springtime. Okay. And then it was, oh no, if I go off the road here, they're not going to find my van to springtime. And my husband does not know where I'm at.
Yeah.
So what I started to do is, make sure that I made a copy of my schedule and left it on the counter where I was going to be and owner contact information. So he can sort of like track me down where I was if I wasn't home.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And that's what we, myself included, when I was doing it, and now our team is, we have to check in at every appointment because we are like all online based now. But that way we know and they check out and it links the time. So if someone's not where they're supposed to be, or they didn't, show up to something, or they didn't, someone's not hearing from them, we can at least see where their last location was and where they should have went from there. And it's a safety thing. And that's what, how we present it. It's just like, you never know, especially when you're out on those roads and weather conditions, or some of our groomers are out, they work late or early in the morning, and it's just like you want someone to know where you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And just kind of like on that whole safety theme too, because safety's always been my big deal. And again, you know what? No one knowing where I'm at. I've always said you don't have to groom anyone you're not comfortable grooming. I can remember
Right.
going to a client's house and the guy opens the door and what I like to say, his less than tidy whities.
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
goodness. Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, goodness, yeah, I am not walking in your house, okay?
Yeah.
Now you've just totally skeeved me out. Just because you've booked an appointment does not mean I'm going to actually perform the service for you." Right? And
Yeah.
that time I basically took the wussy way out and I simply said, "Oh, hey, the water pump in my tub is not working. I gotta go home and fix it. But I was passing by. I just thought I'd let you know." Okay?
Yeah.
I'll call and reschedule and totally ghosted him. Never
Yeah.
called again,
No.
and I will guarantee you he was pretty sure he knew why I was not calling him back.
As he should. I mean, some things are just inappropriate.
Oh my god, that was so inappropriate. Can you imagine? Hey, you know what? The groomer came here and left and didn't groom the dog. You know what? It's like, well, yeah, I mean, I answered the door and everything, and there I am standing in my underwear, and they're like, yeah, maybe that's why she left. Don't know. But yeah, so I like to say, I mean, today I'm thinking back on that. I probably would say if I would like push my old self out of the way and say, "Listen, oh, this guy needs to know why I'm leaving." Okay?
Yeah.
I am not grooming your dog. You are inappropriate. You're answering your door in your very loose underwear.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Good luck finding another groomer
Yeah. Because it won't be me.
because it's not going to be me.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, whether you're a solo groomer or like you have a team or whatever, that customer is always right mentality. I mean, that was another one of the toxic traits that, kept coming up and that I've experienced firsthand and you too. It's just like, the customer is not always right. And, that doesn't mean that they're always wrong, but like, they don't get to treat you. All of our team has the ability to say, I'm sorry, like we don't talk to you that way. You're not going to talk to our team that way. Or this is what we expect out of a client. It's a mutual relationship. So like we expect respect, and that includes our time, like you showing up on time for your appointments, you being at home for your appointments, you not cussing, you not raising your voice.
Yep.
Like, there's professional ways and courteous ways to handle everything. And, it's not just our industry, it's every industry has been so customer is always right, customer is always right. And it's just like they're not like, you have to set those boundaries like of what you're going to tolerate and what you're not. And you need to be upfront about that. And you do like, we let people know when we fire them as clients, why, like we don't tolerate this, and some we've had, become super apologetic and then the groomer gets a bigger tip than they've ever gotten for the rest of their time. Or, we don't let them come back. It's and some we don't even give the chance to try to make it right because what they've done is just so over the top. But they're used to being able to talk to service people that way and industry people and, get away with it. So, I mean, for us, boundaries is really big. And we don't, myself, I didn't, and we don't make our team deal with anyone they're not comfortable with, anyone that, has been angry or rude, where it's just uncomfortable or accusatory. If you're going to accuse us of something or, say you've never been happy with a groom, why are you still here 2 years later? It's just once they
Yep.
get upset, they just throw out all this stuff and expect you to take it. And, we don't have to take that.
No, we don't. And I can remember a quote by I was watching something with Richard Branson was probably doing some sort of TED talk. But anyway, he was talking about his employees. All right. And he said his employees were more important to him than his clients because it was his employees who were making him money.
Yeah, I
Happy
100% agree.
employees. But his employees, happy employees are happy to go to work. There's not the amount of training it takes to retrain somebody over and over again. And I'm sure there's a line there. All right. So employees that are rude to clients shouldn't be tolerated either. But
Correct.
the employees do make your business money. And they should be treated with respect and not treated like they're a gallon of shampoo.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree completely. And that goes kind of back to that culture that's so important to groomers. It's like,
Yeah.
they're not, they don't always get that. And whether, I mean, sometimes it's from the owner, or sometimes it's just from, if they're even self-employed, just letting themselves be treated like that by anybody. And it's just, I don't know, as groomers, like I mean, one, it's a physical job, but this is a skilled labor. I mean, no, not everybody can just pick up some scissors and go to groom a dog. It takes time, training, patience, continuing education. This is a skill and a trained skill. And I mean, it's something that groomers need to be proud of and, make that known. We're not just washing dog butts, like this is a skill, it's a trade, it's, people have these fabulous careers grooming dogs and, then you just see that joy get sucked out. And it's
Yes.
like, I don't know, that just again goes to me like the boundaries. And that's with whether it's with clients, whether it's with, business owners, your boss, yourself. For me, work-life balance is a boundary I struggle with still to this day. And it's like, when I start getting overwhelmed or, frustrated or just whatever, it's just like, okay, well, I need to set my own boundaries. I talk
Yeah.
about it all
Yeah.
the time, but when you have so much stuff going on and you're on a deadline and, like we just built out our grooming salon, our boarding kennel, we started the podcast, the coaching, all that vamped up this year. And it was just like, we're at that point now. It's like, okay, let's schedule some downtime. Let's, refocus, reset those daily schedules. What's important, prioritize so you don't get run down. And I mean, that goes for everyone at every level, I think, of the any
Yeah.
industry, but, specifically dog groomers.
Yeah. So one of the things, I think one of the best things that happened to me as a groomer when I first started is that my husband's job, he got 5 weeks of paid vacation a year.
Oh,
So like
wow.
the first thing, yeah, I know that was great, right? So the first thing I did when I got my appointment book for it was to put in 5 weeks of vacation, X amount in my appointment book. Those weeks were never available. Right. So I got into
Nice.
the habit right from the start of taking all of the time. It's not that we traveled 5 weeks a year. Maybe we traveled 2 weeks, but the other 3 weeks there was time off, you
Right.
know, time off to, do nothing. You do work in the garden, make appointments that, doctor's appointments, but not working.
Right. Yeah, that's something that you people forget to do. I just saw a post in one of the groups the other day where a girl made her schedule for, I think, December, and she's like, "Oh, do you see what I did here?" And it was like she scheduled herself, 6 full days a week the whole month of December, and I think
Mm.
November. And, she was closed one day a week, but she forgot to even schedule herself in an off day throughout the week. And it's just
Yeah.
like we just habit of saying yes and building our clients, and then it's like you get them and then you don't have time to take a vacation because you're so full. Or what I used to do is, I did all the things wrong when I started. I didn't know, I had no boundaries. I worked 7 days a week, anytime the customer needed. Some days I'd have 10 dogs, some days I'd have two. And, I missed out on so much, was running myself ragged, didn't schedule time off. And it was like when I finally did get to take like a long weekend vacation, I worked so much up to it that then as soon as we got on vacation, I got sick because I was so run down.
Yep.
And it was like, then you come home and you're just getting over that. And then you're working extra to make up the time you took off.
Yep.
And, heaven forbid you get sick or, you have a vehicle issue or, something that where you're down a couple days or a week or two. And I don't know, that was a hard learning thing, and it's just like but you have to have that, like, you have to take care of yourself and schedule that downtime.
Exactly. Days off. So what I started to do at one point was not just go on vacation, come home, go back to work. I would take 2 days off, go away for a week, and then take 2 days off after that, then go back to work because I needed that decompressed time before going. Otherwise, I wasn't enjoying my vacation. I would spend like two
Right.
days of my vacation decompressing, and I've lost 2 days of vacation doing that. Right.
Yeah.
And then coming home from vacation and then jumping back to work, not really giving your body a chance to recover from travel.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I learned the hard way the lesson about stop taking in new clients. I stopped taking in new clients when I was mobile grooming the first week in November. So first week in November, November 1st forward, no new clients until mid-January. And the reason I did that, because I wasn't always doing that. I was like,
Right.
yeah, you went to dog groom? Sure. I'll get you in.
Yeah.
Money's good. Money is really good because we're just raking in the money left and right during the holidays because we're taking in people that maybe will never become good clients. I can't ever recall of taking somebody in last minute on the holidays and they becoming a good client. I cannot recall that ever happening. So I
That's
can
definitely
remember, yeah, I can remember like just throwing money on the table and at the end of the week accounting for everything because I couldn't do it every day. I was just exhausted. And uh, then, it's the end of the year. So I had the bin of all the receipts ready to go into the bin and then start the new batch of receipts. And then let's fast forward 7 years because now I'm already doing this 7 years. Okay. Fast forward 7 years and I'm going back to that bin to like clear out some old receipts I no longer need. And I open up that bin and I'm going through the stuff. And you know what I find in that bin?
what?
4 $100 bills that I did not miss. I was making so much money. I was just
Yeah.
glad there were no checks in there. All right. Because it's been
But
7
yeah.
years.
Oh
All
my
right. 4 $100 bills. And I sat there and I realized, holy cow, I didn't even miss $400.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and I think that is sort of for me was when the light bulb went off that, I can't do this. Holiday decorations. I love Christmas. I love the tree. I love putting the little snowman all over my house. I was doing none of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Or if I did get it up, things weren't coming down till like March.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah. So I stopped November 1st. After that point, no new clients. Um, and you know what? I never missed $400 ever again.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense too, because the customers that most of ours are on a reoccurring schedule, but there's always the ones that don't, or they didn't realize their next appointment isn't till January and they want to work in. And I know we'd much rather work in one of our good normal customers, than someone who's never been with us. And like you said, they're probably either never going to come back or they're just not going to appreciate you the same as someone that's already, is used to you and enjoys you and,
Yep.
does appreciate you. And then you get them in and they're, that's just like above and beyond to them at that point. So that's a good thing. I haven't really thought about that, but because, we always have those customers we just can't get in. And, a lot of times, we have new customers on the books that we may never see again. And yeah, they got in, but now we're saying no to someone else.
Yeah. So after that, I changed the way I did things. And like starting in August, September, all my current clients, hey, listen, which do you need to have your pets done for both Thanksgiving and Christmas? Or is it some people are having a New Year's party? When
Yeah.
do you want your pet done so that I can get you in the correct week and then go back in the schedule so we even it out? All right. So if they were actually due before Christmas, but they didn't want the appointment before Christmas, they wanted it before New Year's. That changes the whole schedule. All right. So September, August, people have an idea of who's hosting what. Okay. Are
Yeah.
you hosting Thanksgiving or are you hosting Christmas? Are you doing both? Do you not care? They're like, you know what? You can give up my Christmas spot. I know I'm due before Christmas, but it's not really that important. If somebody else needs that spot, you can move me out. So I knew who I can move and who needed those holiday spots. And when you accommodate your clients in that manner, they are so appreciative of that.
Yes, definitely.
And those are your good clients. That's not the
Oh,
person
yeah.
calling you New Year's Eve. My only 1-star review ever from Yelp was a guy who
Ugh.
called me Christmas Eve, like at 10 o'clock in the morning. And the only reason I answered the phone was to tell him I wasn't going to do his dog and he needed to find somebody else. But he left me a 1-star review because I didn't accommodate him. And apparently I sounded tired when I answered the phone.
Yeah, from people like you.
Yeah. Never, yeah. No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah. Last Christmas Eve call you answered.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Next time, yeah, otherwise the 1-star review would have been that she didn't even return my phone call.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's always some people you're just not gonna be able to satisfy or make happy.
No,
You know, you
I
what?
read his I read his review and I left it up. I was like, you know what? If anybody thinks this guy had a reasonable point here, I don't want him as a client.
Yeah, they need to read that and keep moving. Yeah,
Read, oh my
that's
God,
one
she's
thing.
terrible. Let's keep going.
Yeah. We do our, negative everyone dreads that negative review or that low review. Oh, it's gonna keep people from coming to me, or, it's completely false or whatever. And it's like we actually respond to those and reply to them. And, sometimes I'll be so just upset, flabbergasted. I'll take a month to respond to someone because what I just want to initially put out is not what our brand needs to put out there, and that's something to think about is we've actually gotten clients based on our negative review feedback,
Yes.
because politely and professionally addressed the situation, clarified, did whatever, we needed to do, but it wasn't just that aggressive, I'm right, you're wrong, this is unbelievable. They actually see how we interact with a disagreement. And so they know if they ever have a disagreement, like they're going to feel comfortable coming to us because of how we responded.
Yeah, in
So
a
we like
reasonable
people
manner, yes.
yeah, like bad reviews, like obviously they're not great, but you can actually turn that into like a positive thing for yourself and your branding and your business and how you interact with conflict because that's not always the case.
Yeah, I will always tell you, do not respond immediately to a negative review because you're going to respond with emotion. There
Yeah.
was a client that I wasn't happy about going to, okay? And she was just a little out of my area, but she was a friend of a friend of a friend type of thing. And it was snowing and the winter was really bad. Um, and I was rescheduling a lot of people, not just her. Okay.
Right.
So it's snowing again. And I call her up and saying, listen, we have to reschedule again. And it's not, she had Jack Russell Terriers. Okay. It's not that big a deal to go a little bit longer than normal for these dogs. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I call her up and I tell her we have to reschedule. It's snowing here again. And I live on top of the hill. So you know what? If it's snowing where I'm at, I ain't going anywhere because I am not sliding down in my own neighborhood. Okay. And
Exactly.
she got really snarky with me. Okay. Well, it's not snowing here and just can't believe I'm rescheduling again, yada, yada, yada. All right. I'm like, all right. I have other people to call. Talk to you later. I ended up firing her via email and I had to write that email like 4 times.
Yeah.
Because the first email was basically, "You suck, you're fired."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Yeah, I can't send that." Okay. It took about 4 and probably about a week and a half to
Yeah.
do it, to fire her. Okay. And then she gave me a 1-star review, not on my mobile grooming page, mind you. Okay. But she went over to my Positive Ed page and left a 1-star review without saying why on it. So
Yeah.
she didn't comment, so I couldn't like reply to it. It's like, you know
Right.
what? You're responding to the wrong thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you were fired because you're unreasonable. Okay.
Yeah.
But that was another business. It's not this business.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
We have that. We'll have someone upset either like at our mobile or our salon, and they're in different cities. They're not even this, operating in the same area, and they'll leave reviews, and it's like, well, so and so they couldn't get me in, or this and that, and it's just like, well, one, like we're not even in your city, so like our mobiles don't service this area, and but again, it's just, I don't know, it's just for them to go and find something else that you're a part of just to bring you down when they're not even, I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with reviews, mainly hate. Like I love having those good reviews, but we had one time a team member quit. She gave a 2-day notice, she's health reasons or whatever. So we went into one of the local Facebook groups we're in, and we just said, "Hey, we're hiring. We have someone that gave a 2-day notice. We have a full book of dogs day one, no downtime. We can start you." We didn't put any details, even what unit it was or anything. And she got on and saw that, and then just black. So she saw that midday, and then so she canceled all her appointments without telling us, and then had almost everyone she knew go and leave a 1-star review talking about how horrible we were on our other page. And like, it's taken, I don't know, 3 or 4 years to get part of those down, but it's like, you're not clients, you never worked for us. And it's like, you can go in and dispute them and you can check all those as reasons, but then they'll come back and say, "Oh, after we decided to leave this," and try responding. So we'll put even a response about how, "I'm sorry, like you're not in any, you've never been a customer. We've never seen you. We've never met you. Like you're not an employee." And, it's just like, so battling to get those off when they're not even related. I hate how
Oh,
the business owner has no control over that. And it's not even, you can't even reach out to Yelp or Google or anything and talk to
yep.
someone to try to explain your case. They don't care. And it's just like, everyone gets so emotional. And, that's those bad reviews that they'll be upset over anything, and they'll just post, and they don't think about like these are small businesses that you're, potentially ruining, harming over, like, probably 99% of the time something that you did wrong, like, I don't know. I could care. I wish that there was no reviews, and that I'd rather have nobody see us almost than, because that was just, again, that was a learning thing for me. It was before I knew. And she was mad because I didn't put anything on there that she had quit for health reasons. And I was like, well, one, I didn't put anything about you, period. And two, like, there's this thing called a HIPAA law. Like, I can't put your personal information out there. So, like, nobody even knew that she was the employee that was quitting. And all of this negativity stemmed from that. So it was just, I don't know, you just got to be so careful about what you say, what you post. And then in those reviews, like, the last, of course, I just wanted to fire off all this stuff but you can't, because anyone that sees that is going to see, like, you are, this is how you react. Like, maybe what they're saying is true, and, things like that. And it's just, I don't know. It's tough to be in that spot because it is emotional when something that you've worked so hard for, and that's your name and your brand and your business, and to get those reviews. I mean, it is emotional.
Yeah, it is. And it's also
So,
time consuming. Do
yeah.
you not have better things to do as a business owner than to respond to false reviews?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it's never the ones that actually, something happened or you overbooked and had to call and reschedule and, apologized. And, there's so many relationships you can save by handling it correctly. Just because you get sick, or just because, something broke and you have to reschedule or whatever, like, that doesn't automatically mean a customer is going to be upset. It's all in how you handle it.
yep.
We hear so many times that we'll get a customer and it's like, "Well, my last groomer ghosted me," or they canceled and said they'd reschedule and then I never heard from them again, or, things like that. And it's just like, I don't know. You can just always handle stuff professionally, and that's our biggest thing. Sometimes having to reschedule makes your same thing, makes your relationship stronger because you took ownership of it. And, I don't know. There's correct and incorrect ways to handle every situation, and like almost every situation that could potentially be negative, there's usually a way to turn that around.
Yes. Okay. At least to your benefit, or at least
Yeah.
explain the situation that's going on. Yeah, and I guess and tone is huge, and it's going to be really hard to read tone into something that's printed.
Yeah.
All right. Which is why I love there's two groups on Facebook. One is um, unmoderated tactful communications between pet professionals, and the other one is tactful communications between pet professionals. And they get somebody else who is not invested in your business, all right, has no emotional tie to your business, can help you craft a response that doesn't make you look like an idiot.
Yeah. I'm part of that tactful one. I didn't know about that other group, the unmoderated
Yeah,
one.
it's
So that'll
unmoderated. So on the tactful one, it goes through admin has to approve the post. But
Okay.
the other one they do not all posts go directly up. I find both groups to be very, very helpful. And I watch how some things are worded because you know what? It helps. It helps to see how other people are wording things. Like that is really good. I wish
Yeah.
I could have thought of something like that. So, but anyway, there's two groups out there to help you do that. So again, so you're not responding emotionally to something that needs to be responded to in a business-like manner.
Oh yeah, that's a good suggestion. Thanks for bringing that up.
All right, so we're already past an hour. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
All right,
All
I'm
right.
gonna
Well,
tell you
thank
how.
you. I really enjoyed this.
Okay, so I'm gonna how I like to end up all my
Okay.
podcasts. Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom for our listeners.
The biggest things I have, I guess, are to set boundaries, know your finances, and make sure you're setting that work-life balance. Like to me, those are some of the biggest things that we found that just stress people out and then make them overwhelmed. So it's like, make sure you're taking time for yourself. Make sure you understand where your money needs to go and just make sure to set those boundaries for yourself with customers, with the dogs you're going to do, um, and just really, create an environment that you enjoy being a part of and going to work every day.
Yes, thank you. All right, so this was
You're welcome.
fun. All right, so we're saying goodbye from both women petpreneurs and the podcast.
Yes. Thank you guys.